House will please be in order. Those not having privileges of the floor will please vacate the chamber at this time. All our members and guests in the galleries will please rise as we are led in prayer today by Pastor Will Basham. Pastor Basham is the guest of the gentleman from the 22nd, Delegate Jeffries.
Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, thank you so much for the grace that you have shown each of us this day. And Lord, we come today understanding the great privilege that we have in this country, in this great state. Lord, I thank you for each of these delegates, and I pray for wisdom for them as they go about their business today. Lord, would you guide them and have your way today. Lord, we thank you that you have privileged all of us with the grace that we've seen, and we thank you through the blood of Jesus. And it's in his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Members and guests will please remain standing as we are led in the Pledge of Allegiance today by the gentleman from the 22nd, Delegate Jeffries.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members and guests may be seated. Reading of the Journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, Charleston, Monday, February 4th, 2019.
Gentleman 35th, Delegate Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would ask unanimous consent that further reader of the Journal be dispensed with and it be approved as having been read.
Gentleman 35th asked unanimous consent that further reading of the Journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. So ordered. Introduction to guests. Gentleman 28th, Delegate Pack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my distinct honor this morning to introduce a very, very good friend of mine. He also happens to be my predecessor in this seat. He is a former member of this body, the Honorable John D. O'Neill.
Gentleman 28th, Delegate Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is also my pleasure and honor on behalf of Jeff, our delegate from the other delegate from the 28th, and myself to introduce Marshall Hepner and Jeff Lyons from Summers County. If they would stand up in the North Gallery. Jeff is our chairman of our party, and Marshall is pretty active in everything we do around there, so we're glad to have him. Please make them welcome.
Gentleman the 16th, Delegate Mant.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. I would like to introduce a retired Cabell County educator and a member of the AARP Capital Advisory Team, Irvin Scarberry. Would you please stand? And the House, please make him feel welcome. Thank you.
Gentleman the 27th, Delegate Schott.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is Mercer County Day, and those of us who represent Mercer County here are pleased to have a delegation of our business and community leaders who are visiting the Capitol and hearing from our legislators as well as administrators and others and sharing the incredible things that are happening in West Virginia's Southern Gateway. Each of you should have received or will receive an informational bag along with some candy and 2 tickets to a local ball game, which we hope you'll be able to take advantage of, either the Bluefield Blue Jays or the Princeton Devil Rays, and a visitor's guide so you can plan your visit to Mercer County this summer. Our event is organized by the Chamber of Commerce of the 2 Virginias, which is a new chamber here in Mercer County, representing a merger between the Greater Bluefield Chamber of Commerce and the Princeton-Mercer County Chamber of Commerce and our Mercer County Convention and Business Bureau. Several local businesses and organizations are sponsoring today's events. I'll ask those individuals who are in the North Gallery to stand. Please make them welcome.
Lady from the 32nd, Delegate Kessinger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we're joined by members of the West Virginia chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, and they're just sharing their stories about some of their experiences with Alzheimer's and dementia. So if they would stand and the House make them welcome.
Gentleman the 48th, Delegate Miley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of all of the delegates from the 48th District, we have students down here for Youth and Government Seminar, and chaperoning that group is Heidi Griffith, Jason Haynes, Chris Ann Diaz, and Gabe Rhodes. If they would all rise and let the House make you feel welcome, they're in the rear gallery.
Gentleman the 6th, Delegate Kelly.
Mr. Speaker, in the North Gallery today, also with Youth and Government, I'm honored to introduce some leaders of tomorrow. Hopefully some of them will be on this floor one day. From Tyler County Middle School, Emily Gorby, Jake Boggs, Walker Hoover, Jesse Griffith, and they're chaperoned by Mr. Underwood. Would the House welcome them this morning?
Lady in the 32nd, Delegate Staggers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sitting in the West Gallery so they can be closer to heaven, I have some beautiful ladies in chartreuse from active Southern West Virginia. Erin Reed, Melanie Silas, and India Krasik. Would you stand and everyone give them a good hand?
Gentleman the 22nd, Delegate Jeffries.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Also here for Youth and Government Day is many students from Putnam County, Hurricane, Winfield, Polk, and George Washington 8th grade students being chaperoned by Debbie Goff and Bill Yates. If they would all stand and the House make them welcome.
Gentleman the 51st, Delegate Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. By 2025, 44,000 West Virginians will have Alzheimer's. And with that, we have a lot of folks here today advocating for that issue. And for Montague County, on behalf of the other delegates from the 51st, we have Christina Beck, Teresa Plum, Pam McDonald, and Maria Mancuso. If they would please stand and if the House would give them a warm welcome.
Gentleman the 44th, Delegate Hannah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I have with me in the North Gallery my mother, Judy Hanna, my father, Chuck Hanna, and my sister, Angie Singleton. If they would please stand and the House would make them feel welcome.
Gentleman the 19th, Delegate Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of myself and Delegate Hicks, we have several pages from Pritchard Elementary School today. If they would rise, I will do some, and Delegate Hicks will do some more here. They are Dawson Napper, Krish Patel, Isaiah Zirkle, and Brianna Bowen. Please give them a round of applause.
Gentleman 19th, Delegate Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Delegate Thompson, myself, Chad Lovejoy, and Matt Rohrback, I'd like to announce that we have several kids from the grade school located in Pritchard, West Virginia, serving as pages. And these pages are Caden Gilkerson Price, Sarah Kirk, Reese Lovern, Emily Meredith, Kylie Eckers, Brooklyn Eckers, Anna from Micahs, and Blake McCula. If you would, House, please make him welcome.
The gentleman, the 46th, Delegate Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the North Gallery, we have some youth and government students from Lewis County that had came down today. If they would please stand as I announce their name: Zachary Stonecker, Callie Paxton, Zoe Skinner, Alexis Fisher, Josh Thomas, and Wyatt Burns, and they're chaperoned by Mrs. Burns. If the House would please make them feel welcome.
Lady in the 4th, Delegate Zukoff.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of Delegate Canestraro and myself, I'm pleased today to introduce our Marshall County youth and government participants, some of our best and brightest students from Cameron High School, Moundsville Middle School, and Sherrard Middle School, and their dedicated teacher chaperones from Sherrard Middle School, Jeff Stevens, Amy Jones, and Jessica Meyer. If they would all stand in the House, please make them welcome.
Gentleman, the 24th, Delegate Tomlin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of myself and Delegate Rodriguez, I'd like to welcome our pages today: Noah Maynard, Graydon Clay, Mila Goebel, Haley Collins, Braxton Sword, Chloe Kahn, John Osborne, Emma Fryer, and those are from Southman Elementary. And in the South Gallery, we have the school. They're escorted by school counselor Dana Evans and her parents. Thank you.
Gentleman, the second, Delegate DeSerio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery today, we have some representatives with the West Virginia State Building Trades. I believe they're all carpenters from Southern West Virginia. If they could stand and the House make them welcome.
The gentleman, 28th, Delegate Pack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the North Gallery, I see my good friend Ms. Leslie Gerald up there, and she is joined by John Quessenberry, Rachel Halstead, and Colleen Broyles. If they would stand and the House make them welcome.
Are there further introductions? If not, reports to standing committees.
Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 2528 relating to employees of the Commission of Agriculture and House Bill 2696 creating an additional index system for state-owned lands. Reports the same back with recommendation that each do pass.
Report to be received.
Committee on Government Organization has had under consideration House Bill 2392 allowing the Alcohol Beverage Control Commissioner to issue special one-day licenses for charitable events, and House Bill 2601 relating to the review and approval of state property leases. Reports back committee substitutes, therefore, with recommendation that the committee substitutes each do pass.
Report to be received.
Committee on Finance has had under consideration House Bill 2545 exempting recipients of the Distinguished Purple Heart Medal from payment of the vehicle registration fee, and House Bill 2737 relating to training of State Tax Division employees. Reports back committee substitutes, therefore, with recommendation that the committee substitutes each do pass.
Report to be received.
Committee on Finance has had under consideration House Bill 2546 excluding from tax equipment installed in a motor vehicle for use of a person with a medical necessity, and Senate Bill 354 expiring funds to balance of Auditor's Office Chief Inspector's Fund. Reports the same back with recommendation that each do pass.
Report to be received.
Committee on Technology and Infrastructure has had under consideration House Bill 2390 exempting from certain contract and common carrier laws motor vehicles used exclusively in the transportation of railroad personnel. Reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Judiciary.
Committee on Technology and Infrastructure has had under consideration House Bill 2850 relating to qualifications for a commercial driver's license. Reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to Committee on Government Organization.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Committee on Technology and Infrastructure has had under consideration House Bill 2012 establishing country roads accountability with transparency. Reports the same back with amendment with recommendation that it do pass as amended, that it be referred to Committee on Government Organization.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to the Committee on Government Organization.
Committee on Fire Departments and Emergency Medical Services has had under consideration House Bill 2720 authorizing certain investigators and first responders to carry firearms. Reports the same back with recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Committee on Fire Departments and Emergency Medical Services had under consideration House Bill 2439 relating to fire service equipment and training funds for volunteer and part volunteer fire companies, and House Bill 2729 recognition of emergency medical services personnel licensure interstate compact. Reports the same back with recommendation that each do pass, that they be referred to Committee on Government Organization.
Report to be received. Each bill be referred to Committee on Government Organization.
Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 2740 barring a patient from inheriting from a child in certain instances. Reports back committee substitute, therefore, with recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
Report to be received.
Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration 2365, clarifying the definition of an employee for the purposes of unemployment compensation and workers' compensation. Reports back committee substitute, therefore, with recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
Report to be received.
Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration House Bill 2746 relating to administration of estates, House Bill 2759 providing for the ancillary administration of West Virginia real estate owned by non-residents by affidavit and without administration, and House Bill 2815 raising the value of goods or chattels that are taken in a larceny to constitute a grand larceny. Reports the same back with recommendation that each do pass.
Report to be received.
Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2716 relating to motorboat lighting and equipment requirements. Reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to Committee on Government Organization.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to Committee on Government Organization.
Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2709 relating to hunting licenses. Reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources has had under consideration House Bill 2663 exempting buildings or structures utilized exclusively for agricultural purposes from the provisions of the State Building Code. Reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass, that it be referred to Committee on Government Organization.
Report to be received. Bill be referred to Committee on Government Organization.
I got one more. Committee on Education has had under consideration House Bill 2554 relating to transfers and enrollment policies for students in public schools. Reports the same back. Reports back committee substitute, therefore, with recommendation that the committee substitute do pass.
Report to be received. Are there further committee reports? Reports of select committees? Messages from the executive? Messages from the Senate.
The clerk of the Senate announced that the Senate has passed with amendment House Bill 2351 relating to regulating prior authorizations.
Message will be received. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration.
Lady from the 49th asked unanimous consent that the Senate message and the bill be taken up for immediate consideration. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Lady from the 49th.
The Senate amendment expands the policies discussed in the House bill. First, the amendment adds definitions to provide clarity, provides additional details regarding items that should be included in the prior authorization form. The form is using a nationally accredited standard. Both bills provide that health insurers shall accept electronic prior authorization requests and provide that if the health insurer is currently accepting those requests, then the compliance deadline is January 1, 2020. The amendment provides that one prior authorization for an episode of care may be provided, but excludes from this process out-of-network care. A separate prior authorization would need to be submitted for that. A deadline for the health insurer to respond to an electronic prior authorization with complete form is within 7 days. This is the same time frame in the House version. This time frame is decreased to 2 days, whereas requests for care could either jeopardize the life, health, or safety of the patient or others due to the patient's psychological state, or the patient would be subject to adverse health consequences. This amendment makes it clear in the event of incomplete submission of information, the health insurer must identify all deficiencies within 2 business days, and the healthcare practitioner shall respond within 3 business days. The amendment also provides that any inpatient prescription written at the time of discharge shall not be subject to prior authorization requirements and shall be immediately approved for not less than 3 days. If additional medication is to be substituted, it must be of an equivalent class. The amendment finally provides that in the event that a healthcare practitioner has performed 30 procedures per year and in a 6-month time period and has received 100% prior approval rating, then the health insurer shall not require the prior authorization for that procedure for the next 6 months. At the end of the 6-month time frame, the exemption will be reviewed prior to renewal. The health insurers must accept prior authorization requests for pharmacies in a specified time frame. And this amendment provides that the section is effective for policy, contract, plans, or agreements on or after January 1st, 2020. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House concur in the Senate amendment with amendment.
Question before the House is a motion by the lady from the 49th that the House concur in the Senate amendment with further amendments. Is there discussion? Is there discussion? If not, those in favor will please say aye. Aye. Those opposed will please say no. Ayes have it and the amendment is adopted. Question before the House is now the passage of the bill as amended by the House and further amended by the Senate. Those in favor of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. More than a majority of those members elected to the House having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 2351.
Are there amendments to the title?
Delegate Ellington moves to amend the title.
Question before the House is the adoption of the title amendment. Those in favor of the title amendment will say aye. Those opposed will say no. Ayes have it. Chair declares the title amendment adopted. The title as amended by the House will be and remain the title of the bill. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Request concurrence therein. Further messages.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 100, increasing court fees to fund law enforcement standards, training, and expenses.
Message will be received. Bill be referred to Committee on Finance.
Senate has passed Senate Bill 324, relating to Commissioner of Agriculture employees.
Message will be received. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that reference of the bill to a committee be dispensed with and that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time.
Lady from the 49th asks unanimous consent that reference of Senate Bill 324 to a committee be dispensed with, that the bill be taken up for immediate consideration and read a first time. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Clerk will read the bill a first time.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 100.
Further messages.
Committee Senate Bill 324, relating to Commissioner of Agriculture employees.
Bill will be advanced. Further messages.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 357, relating generally to Division of Administrative Services.
Report will be received. Bill will be referred to Committee on Government Organization.
The Senate has passed Senate Bill 358, exempting purchasing division purchases for equipment to maintain security at state facilities.
Report will be received. Bill will be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 361, relating to Public Defender Services.
Report will be received. Bill will be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 369, relating to generic drug products.
Report to be received. Bill will be referred to Committee on Health and Human Resources, then Judiciary.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 373, relating to financial responsibility of inmates.
Report to be received. Bill will be referred to Committee on Judiciary, then the Committee on Finance.
The Senate has passed Senate Bill 377, relating to minimum wage and maximum hour standards.
Report to be received. Bill will be referred to Committee on Judiciary.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 389, allowing developmentally disabled person purchase base hunting license.
Report to be received. Bill will be referred to the Committee on Agriculture and Natural Resources, then Judiciary.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 398, relating to compensation for senior judges.
Report to be received. Bill will be referred to Committee on Judiciary, then the Committee on Finance.
The Senate has passed Senate Bill 399, relating to compensation for senior magistrates.
Report to be received. Bill will be referred to Committee on Judiciary, then the Committee on Finance.
The Senate has passed committee substitute for Senate Bill 451, comprehensive.
Yes, gentleman from the 55th, Delegate Spinagle. For what purpose does the member seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to House Rule 57, I move to postpone indefinitely Senate Bill 451. I request the right to explain my motion, the right to close my motion, and I request the yeas and the nays.
Question before the House is, we'll first receive the report. Report will be received. Question before the House is the motion by the gentleman from the 55th that Senate Bill, the committee substitute for Senate Bill 451 be postponed indefinitely. Question before the House is the gentleman's motion. Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the motion? Gentleman from the 55th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last year, we had a 9-day work stoppage. And it caused a lot of problems throughout the state of West Virginia. And frankly, there's not a whole lot of trust with our teachers, our school service personnel throughout the state of West Virginia. They don't trust the legislature. Now, I don't know about you all, but I have received literally hundreds of emails, telephone calls, and they were referring to this bill as Mitch's retaliation bill. Labor unions are getting ready to do a work stoppage all because of this bill, because it was slammed through the Senate and shoved over here to the House. So the Senate has basically poured gasoline out on our public education system, and the House of Delegates have we have two options here how we're going to proceed throughout the rest of this session. We can strike a match, set it on fire, we can go through what we did last year, or we can douse it out right now and put it to an end. If you vote yes on this motion, you are putting out the fire. Put it out. Put everybody at ease. Because the longer this goes on, and it's not the head, it's the grassroots. Last year, it was a grassroots effort that pops up all over the counties, and they're going to be down here and this thing spirals out of control. There's no need for that. Now, we would eliminate the imminent threat of a work stoppage. It's a reasonable way to do this. There's no need to govern by crisis the way the Senate wants to do. Get everyone all jerked up, send it over here, this pig of a bill, and ask us to try to clean it up to stop a work stoppage. Yesterday, my good friend from the 36th tried to offer an amendment. And the argument that was set forth by the education chairman and the whip was we should send clean bills, in essence, over to the Senate. So let me just go through some of these House bills that are sitting up in Education Committee right now that deal with Senate Bill 451. Open enrollment, House Bill 2554. Maximum teacher pupil ratio, House Bill 2824. Clarifying job duties and responsibilities of school counselors, House Bill 2391. Modifying legislative intent to the school calendar, House Bill 2433. Teacher input on student promotion, House Bill 2766. Compulsory school attendance, we got two bills sitting up in House Education, 2549, 2620. Public school support, 2328, 2397. Modifying the foundation allowance and county basic foundation, House Bill 2593. Education of exceptional children, House Bill 2122. Education savings accounts, House Bill 2002. Salary increases for teachers and school service personnel, House Bill 2635. Salary equality among counties and county salary supplements for teachers, House Bill 2013. Allowing employment, promotion, and transfer decisions of professional personnel to be made on qualifications, House Bill 2093. County administrators become at-will employees, 2639. Now, granted, there is not a charter school bill that has been introduced in this body. Maybe that's because this body thinks that's a poor idea to suck public funds out of public education and transfer it to private companies. Likewise, there is not a levy bill that is set forth here, maybe because we don't have to give more money back to our public education systems by raising taxes on our people to give these private companies. Those two aren't here. But you know what? Our majority leader has notified everybody in here, you have till the end of this week to introduce bills. So if you feel so strong and so passionate about these charter schools, drop a bill. You want to raise people's property taxes? Drop a bill. Now, some people in here take the impression, I don't believe this, but they say, well, we can't do this because the governor's going to veto it. And we can't do this because the Senate's not going to agree with it. And that persuades some people in here. That doesn't for me. But if it does persuade you, the governor's already going on record saying he's going to veto this bill. So at the end of the day, this bill is a pig. I don't care how much lipstick you're going to put on it. You're not going to make it any prettier. You're not going to change the public's perception of Senate Bill 451. And so we should vote to postpone indefinitely and go ahead and put this pig to slaughter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the Senate side, we heard about how this bill was rushed through. Now we have an opportunity to send it to several committees, and we don't want to do that. So I move that the motion to postpone indefinitely Senate Bill 451 be tabled.
Question before the House is the lady's motion. That gentleman from the 50th for a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just for my reference and the member's reference, if I want to continue to discuss the motion by the gentleman from the 55th to postpone indefinitely, I must oppose the majority leader's motion. Is that correct?
That parliamentary inquiry is correct. That would
correct?
Be, gentleman is correct. That would be a no vote.
Yeas and nays, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Yeas and nays have been demanded on the motion by the lady from the 49th that the motion to postpone indefinitely be laid upon the table. Is the demand sustained? Demand is sustained. The motion to table is not a debatable question. For what purpose does the gentleman from the 66 seek recognition?
Point of inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman may state his point.
If it is the will of this body to take up this legislation, have an opportunity to consider it fully in committee, we would vote green on this motion. Is that correct?
That is, gentleman, is correct.
Thank you so much.
Question before the House is the motion by the lady from the 49th that the motion to postpone indefinitely committee substitute for Senate Bill 451 be laid upon the table. The yeas and nays have been demanded. Those in favor of the motion to lay upon the table will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. Clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, 52 ayes, 44 nays, 4 members absent not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, Chair declares the motion adopted. Motion to postpone indefinitely is laid upon the table. Further minister's message from the Senate.
The Senate has adopted Senate Concurrent Resolution 23.
Chair is in error. Chair is in error. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 451 will be referred to the Committee on Education, then the Committee on Finance.
The Senate has adopted Senate Concurrent Resolution 23, Jeffrey Allen Clovis Memorial Bridge.
For to be received, the resolution will be referred to the Committee on Technology and Infrastructure, then the Committee on Rules. Are there further messages from the Senate? Resolutions, petitions, motions, bills introduced, unfinished business, bills on third reading.
Senate Bill 268, updating meaning of federal taxable income in West Virginia Corporation Net Income Tax Act.
Gentleman from the 10th, Delegate Chris, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. The bill provides for the tax year 2018. The meaning of the terms in the West Virginia statutes relating to corporate net income tax will have the same meaning as those terms under the federal statutes as amended between December 31, 2017 and January 1, 2019. Mr. Speaker, I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, Chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 268.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move the bill take effect from its passage.
Lady from the 49th moves that the bill be made effective from passage. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. More than 2/3 of those elected having voted in the affirmative. Chair declares the bill effective from passage. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
Senate Bill 269, updating terms used in West Virginia Personal Income Tax Act.
Gentleman of the 10th, Delegate Chris, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill will amend the provisions of the West Virginia Code relating to West Virginia personal income tax. The bill provides that the tax year 2018, the meaning of the terms in the West Virginia statutes relating to personal income tax, will have the same meaning as those terms under the federal statutes as amended during the year 2018. Mr. Speaker, I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. More than a majority of those elected having voted in the affirmative. Chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
Senate Bill 269.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill take effect from its passage.
Lady from the 49th moves that the bill be made effective from passage. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. More than 2/3 of those elected having voted in the affirmative. Chair declares the bill effective from passage. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill House Bill 2004, providing for a program of instruction to workforce preparedness.
Gentleman from the 48th, Delegate Hamrick, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a targeted workforce development bill that begins with broad information for all students on the opportunities in career and technical education and what they need to do to prepare for them. The bill makes career and technical program information easily accessible to all students and their parents beginning in middle school. It provides for instruction for all secondary students on general workforce preparedness and common skills and attributes sought by employers. It may be integrated into existing courses, and schools may work through their LSICs and business partners to deliver this instruction. It requires the Division of Labor, the Fire Commission, the Fire Marshal, and occupational licensing boards to examine the apprenticeship and other employer-sponsored programs under their respective jurisdictions to grant credit for the knowledge and skills students have already attained through their career and technical programs. The bill requires secondary schools and community and technical colleges to ensure their programs of study allow students to move through a coordinated, non-duplicative progression of courses that prepares them for employment in high-wage, high-demand occupations. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the bill requires our secondary schools and community and technical colleges to work together on identifying high-demand, high-wage occupations in their service areas and those identified by the Department of Commerce, and developing integrated programs of study leading to industry-recognized credential, certificate of applied science, or associate degrees in those areas. Information on career and technical occupations, licenses, apprenticeships, training programs, degrees, available courses, course requirements, and employment opportunities will be part of the information made easily accessible to students and parents beginning in middle school. Mr. Speaker, I urge passage of the bill.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? The gentleman 36, Delegate Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the chairman yield?
Chairman does yield.
Chairman, I have just a couple questions on this one. Now, we have a workforce preparedness program, and we have a couple parameters that they must teach, and then it opens it up for them to teach anything, correct? I'll give you a hint. It's on page 2.
Yeah, so the program is designed to integrate those things into the courses that are available.
What grade do we start that in?
Yeah, it's stated as secondary schools in the bill, so that's beginning of middle school. Okay, and high school.
Just in high school?
Yeah, that's when the program begins.
When do our career and technical courses begin? When can our students start taking advantage of that?
Yeah, currently, as I understand it, in 11th grade.
So if we're teaching, are we going to teach this course in 11th grade? Or are we going to teach it in 9th and 10th, or do we direct them to do either one?
Yeah, I mean, it's left up to the counties to decide the appropriate grade level. I would assume 9th grade.
You assume, or that's in the bill?
That is left up to a local control decision. Okay. But yes, that would be. I mean, in my view, that would be the appropriate step.
What coursework do we implement this into? Like, does this go?
Sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
What course does this information go into? I mean, are we going to stop social studies one day and start teaching resumes?
Yeah, it allows the local school system to make that decision.
Do we have? Are we giving them more time to teach this? I mean, we're discussing actually in the bill that just came across. It sounds like we want to make a big reformed education. Is it going to be difficult with all those changes to try to implement more coursework into already full courses that if we're ranked 47th, maybe we're not teaching enough to get through coursework? Is that going to be difficult?
I mean, that sounds like your opinion. I don't know. I think that's something we were leaving up to the local counties to decide.
Are the counties able to put more time in the day?
No, sir.
Okay.
Or, I mean, they could in the school day, but no. I mean,
so yesterday we discussed an amendment, and it was too restrictive to give them an extra course with a full period to teach something, but we don't think it's too restrictive to give them just extra coursework to fit into, we were talking about the Civil War yesterday, but today I'm going to show you how to interview. You don't think that's tough?
I mean, like I said, it's left up to the counties to make that decision.
Now the workforce needs, it says we're going to make them easily accessible. What's easily accessible?
I mean, again, I think that's a definition that would have to be defined.
Open to local control, right?
By the local school system.
How are they dispersing it now? Because they collect it now. How do they disperse it? I mean, the Board of Education and the Department of Commerce has that information. How do they get it out now?
program called the Strategic Compass. We'd like to look at these other ones that are more easily
Yeah, so currently it's available in a program called Strategic Compass, but this bill is designed to...
What's Strategic Compass? Can you tell me what that is?
Okay, yeah, so it's an electronic system that's available through the Department of Commerce.
Do you know where that's available? Could you tell me the URL to be able to find that so we can take a look?
I don't have the information in front of me. I'm sure we could find that.
Is it strategiccompass.com? Now, I'm gonna move on. We'll find that.
It's a program, or it is a program, council informs me, it's a program that does require a username and password to access that system.
Now what? Now we're dispersing this information to kids, but they have to give a username and password to get in to even be able to see it?
That's what it is currently, so we're trying to make that easier.
So we're going to take the username and password off of it. That's all that part of the bill does.
I mean, it allows the county boards to disperse that information to the students.
Consortia.
Yep.
Mr. Speaker, they are not allowing the questions to be answered. You ask a question, he tries to answer it, he's not allowing him to complete a sentence.
Chair will allow some latitude in questioning, but we'll ask of decorum of all members. Please proceed.
Now, the other section, it looks like there's a consortia. Is no one doing that right now? No,
sorry, neither I or council were able to understand what you said there. I don't know if there's something wrong with the audio today, or sorry, could you repeat that?
Pages 4, 5, 6, and 7 of this bill deal with collecting information. The community colleges, fire marshal, Department of Commerce, CTCs, Fire Commission, they're supposed to, I mean, they have a long list of things they're supposed to do. Is no one doing these things now?
No, I think there's been some attempts in the past. I know there's always been a little bit of consternation between the community and technical colleges and the local school districts or the vocational ed programs. So this bill is kind of an attempt to bring them together and sort of force a dialogue in that situation.
So this forces a dialogue?
I mean, it's attempt, that's one of the parts of the bill. Yes, I mean, it starts that, you know, it basically forces them to work together so that we're providing all the information that we need to the students.
Okay, on page 5, you've struck 6A, B, and then on page 6, you've struck C. Now, that seems to be identical language you've put back in 4. Can you explain to me why that was done on page 4?
So the B at the bottom of page 5.
Bottom of page 5, you've struck 6A and B. On page 6, you've struck C.
All right, in just a moment, will we have council look at that real quick? So yeah, some of that language was just moved by council when drafting the bill, just for flow of the information, since other things were removed as well.
Some of that language or all that language? I mean, is it all a duplicate, or is it just moved for?
Yeah,
for clarity?
all of what you mentioned. Yes, there are other parts that were struck that weren't moved, but yes.
Okay. On page 11. Or number 11 on page 6. We've added, it seems to be that section is pretty wide open, that assessment can be done pretty much wide open there. And then we're adding that assessment may include, but is not limited to, the use of assessment instruments of the National Occupational Competency Testing Institute. Is there a reason why we would give a specific testing institute a mention there?
Well, it's purposely left open in the bill. What I understand it is that's what's currently being used by the State Department, so that was just listed as an option. It's still allowed to be any test, but that one is listed specifically as just as an option. We could have added more. I think there's one called ACT Work Prep that's another test that does a similar thing.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, does the gentleman wish to close debate? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, 95 ayes, 1 nay, 4 members absent not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2004.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, title as read by the clerk will be entered the title of the bill. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2420, establishing the Mountaineer Trail Network Recreation Authority.
Gentleman of 56, Delegate Howell, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to establish the Mountaineer Trail Recreation Authority. The legislature found that there is a significant need within the state for managed facilities to provide trail recreation for hiking, biking, bicycle enthusiasts, and others. Establishing the Trail Authority will allow for significant economic and recreational benefits for the state. The authority will be comprised of 21 members appointed by the governor. The county commission from each participating county will recommend 3 individuals to be considered, and the governor will pick 2. Additionally, the bill provides rules for operation, which will include financial review and oversight, powers and authority of the authority, criminal penalties, purchasing and bidding procedures, and civil remedies for unlawful purchasing contracts. The committee substitute adds Barber, Grant, Mineral, Randolph, and Tucker counties to the authority. It adds the requirement for a member to be appointed that represents tourism. Additionally, the committee substitute provides that the Mountaineer Trail Authority is established to provide additional opportunities by creating a contiguous trail system that connects to the Chesapeake and Ohio towpath. Mr. Speaker, I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? Gentleman from the 21st, Delegate Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the chairman yield?
Chairman does yield.
I just want to verify, this is only for bicycles and hiking. It does not include ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, no motorized vehicles, correct?
It is only for non-motorized vehicles. They are specifically prohibited.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2420.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 2666, Supplemental Appropriation, Department of Veterans Assistance.
Gentleman 64th, Delegate Householder, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this supplementary appropriation bill is to appropriate $6,200,000 in general revenue for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019 to the Department of Veterans Assistance for expenditure during the fiscal year 2019 in the following funds: Department of Veterans Assistance, Veterans Nursing Home in the amount of $6 million, and in the Department of Veterans Assistance, the Veterans Grant Program of $200,000. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 2666.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill take effect from its passage.
Lady from the 49th moves that the bill be made effective from passage. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. More than 2/3 of those members elected having voted in the affirmative, chair declares the bill effective from passage. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Request concurrence therein. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 2668, Supplemental Appropriation, Department of Administration, Public Defender Services.
Gentleman from the 64th, Delegate Householder, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this supplementary appropriation bill is to appropriate $15,300,000 in general revenue for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019 to the Department of Administration for expenditure during the fiscal year 2019 in the following fund: Public Defender Service, appointed counsel fees of $15,300,000. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? Gentleman, 32nd, Douglas Fast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I obviously want to urge passage of this bill, and in doing so, remind the members, although this bill doesn't help, it has been 30 years since court-appointed panel attorneys have had a raise. 30 years. Let's pass this, and then let's pass another bill. Take care of that. Thank you.
Are there other members who wish to speak to the passage of the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. More than a majority of those members elected having voted in the affirmative, Chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 2668.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Lady from the 49th.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill take effect from its passage.
The lady from the 49th moves that the bill be made effective from passage. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, 96 ayes, 0 nays, 4 members absent not voting. More than 2/3 of those members elected having voted in the affirmative, Chair declares the bill effective from passage. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate and request concurrence therein. Are there further bills on third reading? If not, bills on second reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2363 relating to the Upper Kanawha Valley Resiliency and Revitalization Program.
Are there amendments?
Delegates Rowe and Robinson moved to amend the bill. This is HFA Rowe and Robinson 2-4 revised.
Would either sponsor? Gentleman 36, Delegate Robinson.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to withdraw my amendment.
Gentleman 36 asks unanimous consent that the amendment be withdrawn. Are there objections? Chair hears the amendment will be withdrawn. Are there further amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2490, preventing, proposing, or enforcing rules that prevent recreational water facilities from making necessary upgrades.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
House Bill 2691, providing that a license to carry a concealed deadly weapon expires on the holder's birthday.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2779, providing that proceeds from certain oil and gas wells to persons whose name or address are unknown are to be kept in a special fund.
Are there amendments? If not, the bill will be advanced. Are there further bills on second reading? If not, bills on first reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 240, repealing certain legislative rules no longer authorized or are obsolete.
Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2204, prohibiting state licensing boards from hiring lobbyists.
Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2479, Corporate Governance Annual Discharge Act, Disclosure Act.
Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2481, permitting retail sale of alcoholic beverages on Sundays after 1 p.m.
For what purpose does the gentleman from the 51st, Delegate Powell, seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is similar to House Bill 2121 that I introduced earlier in the session, and I would like to ask unanimous consent to be added to this bill as a sponsor.
Gentleman asks unanimous consent to be added as a sponsor to committee substitute for House Bill 2481. Are there objections? Are there objections? Chair hears no objection. Bill will be advanced. Next bill on first reading.
House Bill 2608, repealing the requirement of printing the date on a consumer deposit account was opened on paper checks.
Bill will be advanced.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2686, relating to permitting the Supreme Court of Appeals of West Virginia to create a family drug court pilot program.
Bill will be advanced. Are there further bills on first reading? If not, leaves of absence. Lady in the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For our colleagues in Brown, Kump, Storch, and Worrell.
Are there objections to leaves being granted? Chair hears no objections. Leaves will be granted. Remarks by members of the House. Gentleman 66, Delegate Espinoza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just briefly, just wanted to remind folks that we just have a few days left to sign up for the Speaker's Dinner. That Speaker's Dinner, of course, is February the 12th, right out here in the foyer in front of the chamber. You have until this Saturday in order to respond. If you'd like to attend the dinner, please see the staff in the Speaker's office, again, you have until Saturday in order to RSVP for that dinner. Thank you very much.
Gentleman of the 7th, Delegate Harshbarger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to take a minute to talk a little bit about our hunting heritage here in West Virginia. As we're all aware, West Virginia became a state in 1863. This legislative body in 1869 took up our first hunting regulation. So we've been dealing with hunting regulations for over 150 years in this body right now. And as we do have big fish to fry occasionally, as we do this year, but I'm sure over the course of the last 150 years there's been some big fish to fry also. But the hunters and our sportsmen of this state has appreciated the time we have put to pass some bills that are significant to some and insignificant to other. We actually, as a legislative body, created the West Virginia DNR 20 years before we created the state police in this state. So I think if the taxpayers were upset that we were wasting time over the last 150 years, they'd probably voice their opinion about that. But also, I just want to get a little bit of economics to this. This right here is my hunting and fishing license that I purchased this weekend. One, there's a statement on there, we tie child support to that. So if they're delinquent on their child support, they're not going to be able to enjoy our outdoors. Also, a little bit of economics on this. Southwick Associations did a study, and hunting and fishing brings in $422 million of revenue to this state annually. With multipliers, they bump it up to about $522 million. That means approximately 5,300 jobs created every year, part-time and full-time, that are supported by our hunting and fishing outdoor activities. It also means $35 million in state and local taxes. So just not besides the economic side of this, I look at this license and I start thinking, a lot of this time this license means who's going to shoot at the biggest buck, who's going to harvest the most fish. But to me, it means a lot of other things. One, it allows me to spend quality time with my daughter in the backyard shooting her bow and sitting in a tree stand and talking. Two, it has helped me to feed hungry people in our state through the Hunters Helping Hungry program. Also, if you've ever had an opportunity to take a child from a broken home that doesn't have parents out to the woods and just teach them what nature's about and what being a good person of the woods is, about what we are so blessed to have in front of us, it really hits home with a lot of people. I've been involved with children that have disabilities. They come from a broken home. Just last week, we had the foster care bill. The day we passed that bill, I had a gentleman come to my office and said, he said, I've got 4 foster kids that I've engaged them into hunting as part of their therapy to get back into society and develop their social skills. Also, we use hunting as an avenue for our veterans, our military veterans, to treat PTSD. And a quote from an avid bow hunter, which is a military veteran suffering from PTSD, he said, medicine comes in many different forms. This hunt was by far the best prescription I could take. When I was hunting, I was at peace. So just not the game of taking animals. There's so much involved with our hunting and fishing heritage in our state. We have created programs around this state to engage kids in bow hunting in our schools. We get them off our street. They're used for drug rehabilitation to keep our kids and people off the street. So just wanted to point a few things out about our hunting and fishing heritage in our state. And also, with recently be appointed the co-chair of the Sportsman's Caucus, I'd like to also invite everybody to the legislative breakfast tomorrow morning at 7:30. Even if you're not a hunter, please come and just hear what these guys have to say, the programs they're involved with, and your attendance would be very much appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman of the 48th, Delegate Hamrick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd just like to comment briefly on some of the remarks that we heard earlier from the gentleman from the 55th and the motion that was voted on earlier today. Anyone that knows, the members of this legislature and the members of this leadership team know, and I'm going to tell everyone here today, that there is no intention of any retaliation or retaliatory measures by this legislature for any reason whatsoever, let alone in this bill that we're discussing today from this House. No matter what you see maybe the actions of another body of this legislature may be. That is clearly not the intention moving forward in the House. So just today, I just ask you to trust me and trust the members of our leadership today to make changes that are necessary, to leave the good parts in this bill and maybe remove the parts that give us a little bit of heartburn, the members of both parties of this body, as we move forward. Let this bill work through the committee process, and hopefully by the time it comes out, it's something that can get bipartisan support on the floor of this House. So just again, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman with 36, Delegate Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think we've had perhaps some history today in this legislative body. It's my opinion that our legislative body, the House and the Senate, is the greatest decision-making process in the world. And one of the reasons is because of the committee structure and the way that we proceed with ideas that become bills that then are tested, usually in committees, and then on the floor of one body, and then they have to go over same ideas, have to go over to the other body with a completely different power structure to look at those ideas and test them. And then they come back over here. If there have been changes, we have to agree or disagree on them and make a decision about it, because every comma, every period, every capitalization has to be exactly the same in the bill in order for it to pass. Now, what we also saw today was a motion to permanently postpone a bill that we got from the Senate that is unusual in my experience of many years to ever see, that any idea that related to education would be included in one single bill. And that is not the way I envision legislative process. We have a specific constitutional rule that says that a bill is to have one object. And there's a reason for that, because we need to deal with each idea individually. And what's beautiful about our committee structure is that the standing committees are subject matter committees. So we have expertise in government organization and in the Judiciary Committee and in finance and different areas. So when we send a bill to a committee in this body, we have 25 members. 1/4 of the body considers that idea as a bill. And then usually there's a second reference and it goes to the next committee. There's another 25 members in this body who review that idea and have an opportunity in a different setting. What kind of setting? Well, usually there are tables. Here in the back, I see the backs of heads. In committee meetings, I see the faces of my committee members and my peers in this body. And that's a different setting. It's informal. It's expert as to the council, because then we have council that repeat year after year in the judiciary and finance. And so we have expertise on our staff. And we really give a thorough review for those ideas that we turn into bills. I don't think the Senate has done that. I think the Senate, first of all, violated the constitutional requirement of one subject per bill. Also, it violated my sense of the importance of committees, because committees allow people an opportunity to comment, to ask questions, to be involved in the process, to test ideas, get counsel to explain the bills, and all of those things that we do in committees. The Senate didn't do that. They didn't send it to the Finance Committee, which is to look at the financial aspects of that bill. They took and put it on the floor. And I think it's very appropriate to have a motion to permanently postpone consideration of that bill because of the nature of the bill and how it got here. Now, I salute the leadership, because once that motion was tabled, the leadership sent the bill to the appropriate committees. Education, as I understand, and finance. Those are the committees that ought to be looking at it. So I'm very comfortable today in knowing that the leadership understands and appreciates and plans to proceed in the usual way of doing business in this body, even though we're confronted with something very unusual from the Senate. You know, this process is a direct descendant of Thomas Jefferson. Some say that he got bored when he had to preside over the Senate as vice president, and so he started writing rules. Well, the Jeffersonian rules are the ones that we use in our body today. And we should take great pride in the fact that we are a part of that decision-making process, and that we don't ever want to do anything that would impair it. We want to use our committees for detailed review of ideas that we've got as bills, and we need to also appreciate the fact that as we get along and our members together, that we really should feel some humility as being a part of this process that's continued for over 200 years. And the process started with the beginning of the Constitution, and the real genius of how it works so well is that we have two separate power structures in the two houses to deal with these ideas. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I think is what saves us time after time after time from just the whim and fads that may come through at different times in terms of policy. So, Mr. Speaker, I congratulate you and thank you for signing the bill that's before us to the committees to be reviewed in the normal process, and I look forward to our consideration of this omnibus bill. Thank you, sir.
Gentleman, the 60th, Delegate Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to add a little context to the conversation, if I may, about Senate Bill 451. One of the things that we've been asked to do is to listen to all the stakeholders, and I agree. We absolutely have to listen to all the stakeholders. We not only have to listen to them, we have to actively engage them and request information and guidance from them that is pertinent and salient to the discussion here. So, I have, in fact, as the gentleman said, received hundreds of emails from educators asking me to please vote no on Senate Bill 451. Most of them say very much that. Vote no, this is horrible, the children will not receive a decent education, and this is just bad for everybody. I listen to those. I've actually spoken with a number of educators, not only in my area, but across the state. I have engaged doctors of education, PhDs of education, and asked them for their input. And I've engaged all of them and taken seriously their input and considered it. But I've gone beyond that. I've talked to the parents. I've talked to a number of parents. And I will tell you that, as the gentleman said, as the educators have no faith in this body, the parents of this state have no faith in the public education system of this state. And they've made that very clear to me. We need to engage. We need to find a way to ensure that our system works for everybody. And one of the ways that we need to engage and ensure that our system works for everybody is to provide effective and thorough education through a variety of options to the people of this state, to their children. We are required by the Constitution of this state to provide a thorough and efficient education to the children of this state. And as you all know, as we all know, we are failing miserably. We need to engage. We need to listen to everyone, all the stakeholders, not just the ones who happen to work for us as employees of this state. Their voice is important. It's terribly important, but they are not the only stakeholders here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman the 50th, Delegate Caputo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I certainly am happy to hear that the education chair said that he seeks no revenge and he wants to give this bill a complete and thorough debate. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate you sending it to two committees so we can have that, because I have never been more happy than I have not being a state senator as I have in this last week. I'm telling you, I have never seen such circus antics played out in the other side of this Capitol as I have seen in the last week. I've been here 23 years, not as long as some, but longer than most. And I know that we have shared and argued and debated different ideas and values on a regular basis. But for a body that has a 20-14 majority to form a committee of the whole to avoid a process because the leadership didn't believe they had the votes is just wrong. That's not a majority move. That's a minority move. That's what the minority does to try to get their voices heard. What came out of the Senate the other day is nothing more than revenge politics. Nothing more than revenge politics. Do you know the title of that bill is 3.5 pages long? Education in general? Are you kidding me? We've got turmoil once again going on in our education community. As we speak, strike votes are going on in every school in the state of West Virginia. The governor has asked for calm in the education community. I just can't believe it. The gentleman from the 16th talked to us yesterday, and he talked about that bill not having bipartisan support. And he said something that struck home with me. It has bipartisan opposition. And let me tell you one thing I've learned in my years serving in this distinguished body. Usually when you have a bill that's such a lightning rod that you can't get one person from the other side of the aisle to support you, it's probably a bad piece of legislation. We're representative government. We may come from different values and we may serve for different parties. You are getting the same emails I'm getting. I know you are. I heard the education chair across the hall saying she got lots of emails supporting this bill. Well, I'd like to see them. I challenge her on this floor today to bring them over here because I want to see them. Because I sure as hell haven't gotten any, Mr. Speaker. I sure as heck haven't gotten any, and I'm sure that most of the colleagues, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, has not gotten them either. There's been no inclusion in this piece of legislation. If you talk to the AFT, the WVEA, the school service personnel, more importantly, the parents and the teachers, they didn't have a seat at the table. They didn't have a seat at the table. So what are we running? Model legislation to bring dark money into West Virginia to win campaigns? Look, I have a lot of faith and a lot of friends on that side of the aisle, and you have won your campaign, I believe, on your merits, and that's the way we should all run campaigns. But to craft legislation that I believe is only done for one reason, that's wrong. That's wrong. And I believe the parents do have faith in our education system in West Virginia, and I don't think it's as bad as people want to say it is all the time. Education has had a major impact on every one of our lives, or we wouldn't be here today. I only have a high school education, not one day of higher education. But I can tell you every teacher I had from the first grade, I can tell you every school cook I had, I can tell you every janitor I had, and I think it had a major impact on my life. Just the same as it did on my friend's life if he's an attorney, or my friend's life if he or she's a doctor. We all took different paths in life. But our educators helped us form that path and find that path. And I think we have an 85% graduation rate in West Virginia. Maybe not the best in the country, but certainly we're not at rock bottom, as some people want to lead us to believe. I just get tired of hearing the BS. Let's talk about the truth, and let's let people come to the table and have their say. We can agree to disagree, but we should hear from everyone. No voice should be too small because they didn't give a campaign contribution or they don't have a PAC. No voice should be too small. Now, we made a move today, and I respect the outcome of that. But I think it also sends a message. I think it sends a message to West Virginia that we're not going to play the games that the leadership in the Senate played. I think that's important. And I think it's important that we send that same message to our educators that we trust every day in the classrooms and our parents that we look to every day. This is not a circus. There's not 3 rings out here with a ringmaster. This is a government by the people. By the people. And the day we lose sight of that, we should take our names off the ballot. That's when our careers as a politician or a public servant should end. So, Mr. Speaker, I trust that you will vet this bill in a fair and efficient manner. And I hope and pray that we break this bill up and we let each of those measures stand or fall on their own merit. But to include a non-severability clause to say that someone can't challenge something which is their constitutional right in the courts, or you wipe out everything in the bill, that's wrong. It's just plain wrong. And I hope and pray that the House of Delegates has much more wisdom and much more compassion than the Senate did. And I rarely call out the other body. But this, Mr. Speaker, I believe people have been watching. I think they're highly upset with what happened over there. And I hope and pray that they look at the House and say, I'm glad you all just took the time to do things the way they're supposed to be done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman with 62nd, Delegate Bibby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to speak to SB 451 as well. Listening to what's going on here is nothing more than fear-mongering. I ran on school choice. I ran for parents to have the choice on how they wanted to get their kids educated. I didn't run to protect a professional education class. You would think, after listening to a lot of folks this morning, that we had a bill that was going to do away with public education in the state of West Virginia. No, we're not. We're putting together a bill that will reform education in West Virginia. We need to do that because, quite frankly, parents are speaking, and they're speaking with their feet. The population, the school population in public education in West Virginia is going down. Why is that? It's because parents are choosing to do so, either through homeschool or to send their kids to private school or even move out of the state. So to demagogue that this bill somehow is going to eradicate public education from the state of West Virginia is ludicrous. We're not doing anything to eradicate public education. We're providing parents a choice on how they want to educate their children. And if that choice is to stay in public education, they'll do that. If it's to do it in private education or homeschool, that's their choice. People, freedom is what we want. We want freedom to find our solutions. That's the best way to find solutions, is give the people the freedom to solve their own problems. That's nothing more than what this bill is doing. And to answer the question, it is one object, and that object is to reform public education in this state. Now, this bill is probably not going to do it all in one fell swoop. It's going to take years. We didn't get here overnight. We got here over 80 years of neglect and a decline in our public education. And this is not just a West Virginia problem, it's a national problem. But let's get together. We're going to run it through the committees, just like legislative bodies do, and we'll have a good vetting of the bill. And what I'm positive and I'm confident that we'll come out with a bill that doesn't just solve it for one particular special interest group, but we want a bill that's going to address all of the citizens of West Virginia and give all of the citizens an opportunity and a say on how they want their children educated. I have more trust in a parent than I do in any educator with a PhD, and no matter what follows after their name. My grandfather grew up in the 1920s with no more than an 8th grade education and ran two or three businesses, one after another, and made a very good living with an 8th grade education. We have kids graduating from college today, some with PhDs, and can't get a job. Now something's wrong. Why is it you could graduate with less than an 8th grade education 80 years ago and be able to do things for your family, and today we get more and more people that come out of colleges, they can't even get a job, and are on welfare, some of them, okay? So we have to do something, not for us. I had my education, I had a very good education growing up in the 50s,
But what we're doing today for our kids right now is absolutely wrong, and we need to make a change. We can't just put our heads in the sand and figure we can just give a pay raise and then go home and think everything is going to be hunky-dory. No. So let's get together, let's work for all of the people of West Virginia and come out with a bill that's going to provide freedom to everyone in this state to educate their kids. Thank you.
Gentleman with 58th, Doug Coles.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm reminded of a little story from today. One day, an old man was walking along a beach that was littered with thousands of starfish that had been washed upon ashore by the high tide. As he came upon a young boy who was eagerly throwing the starfish back into the ocean one by one. Puzzled, the man looked at the boy and asked what he was doing. Without looking up his task, the boy simply replied, "I'm saving these starfish, sir." The old man chuckled, "Son, there are thousands of starfish and only one of you. What difference could you make?" The boy picked up a starfish, gently tossed it into the water, and turned to the man and said, "I made a difference for that one." Mr. Speaker, I think that's where we are today. And I dare you, sir, I dare us to bet for the kids of West Virginia. Bet on them. That's the path forward. Bet on the kids of West Virginia. I challenge our leaders to focus on the kids. A chance, innovation, personalized learning for children, art, creativity. 44 states, Mr. Speaker, have charter schools. Why should our West Virginia children have fewer choices? Why? Now, certainly charters won't change the world. Maybe it'll help one starfish, one child at a time, but charters won't change the world. Local control, flexibility, empowering students, empowering parents, empowering local schools, empowering teachers with the ability to teach in their classroom again. Those are the things that I think will change the world. Mr. Speaker, just a little story, but I think we can all make a difference, and this bill is part of that. Thank you.
Gentleman with 60th, Delegate Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the gentleman for inviting me to re-engage in this discussion by characterizing my comments concerning the lack of faith that parents in this state have in their education system as BS. I'd like to say, sir, that not only have they engaged me and asked me to vote in favor of Senate Bill 451, and I've responded to them that I need to let it work through the process, and there are a lot of things that I have questions about with it. But they've not only asked me to vote in favor of it to give them choice, but they've actually asked me to engage in a complete restructuring of the entire West Virginia public education system. These same parents who have discussed this with me have expressed their bitter disappointment that Senate Bill 451 provides such weak support for parents' rights to ensure a thorough and efficient education as required under the West Virginia Constitution by choosing for their children the most effective option from a vast majority of options. They're disappointed, but they're willing to accept this as a first step in the right direction. And I would like to say to any of my friends here who believe that my statement is BS, that I'm somehow fabricating this, obviously you're not hearing these people's voices. Perhaps it's because they're being shouted down, or perhaps it's because you're not listening. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman 22nd, Delegate Jeffries.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask unanimous consent that the remarks from the gentleman in the 7th, the 60th, and the 62nd be printed in the appendix of the journal.
Are there objections? Chair hears no objections. Gentleman is 61st, Delegate Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask unanimous consent that the comments from the gentleman from the 50th, Delegate Caputo, the comments from the gentleman from the 36th, Delegate Rowe, and also the gentleman from the 55th, Delegate Spinagle, on his motion to postpone indefinitely Senate Bill 451, the retaliation bill.
Are there objections? Chair hears no objections. Gentleman of the 15th, Delegate Foster.
Unanimous consent that all remarks by members be printed in the appendix of the journal.
All remarks all day?
All remarks in the remarks by members portion.
Are there objections? Chair hears no objections. Introduction to guests. The gentleman from the 9th, Douglas Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I want to announce the Doctor of the Day coming to us from the capital city. Welcome, Dr. Tom Linger.
Are there further introductions? If not, miscellaneous business. Gentleman from the 60th, Douglas Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request advice of the availability of the chamber on February 19th at 8 a.m. for the purpose of a public hearing.
Chamber is available.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Speaker, I request permission to make an announcement.
Chair would ask the member to hold briefly. We'll get to announcements momentarily.
Thank you, sir.
Gentleman from the 28th, Douglas Pack. Lady from the 49th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move subject to announcements that the House adjourn until 11 a.m. Wednesday, February 6th.
Question for the House is a motion by the lady from the 49th that the House stand adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, February 6th, subject to announcements. Are there announcements? Gentleman from the 10th, Douglas Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Finance will meet Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. to take up legislation. The agenda will be posted. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from the 29th, Douglas Steele.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The subcommittee on House Bill 2579, the lien priority bill, will meet in the Judiciary Committee room at 1 p.m. today. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 35th, Douglas Capito.
9 a.m. tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. The Committee on the Judiciary will meet in the committee room. Agenda will be posted. Thank you.
Lady from the 38th, Douglas Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Pensions and Retirement will meet today at 4 p.m. in the House Finance Room, and the agenda has been posted.
Gentleman from the 21st, Douglas Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Education will meet tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in the House Education Committee room. The agenda will be posted. Also, Republican members will caucus in the Chairman's office today at 4 p.m.
Gentleman from the 28th, Douglas Pack.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Government Organization will meet tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in the Government Organization Committee room. The agenda will be posted.
Gentleman from the 16th, Douglas Linville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Finance Committee work group for the Department of Commerce will meet at 3 p.m. today in the McManus Conference Room. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 60th, Douglas Wilson.
Speaker, the Judiciary Subcommittee to consider proposals to call a convention of the states under Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution will hold a public hearing on February 19th at 8 a.m. in the House chambers to receive briefings from subject matter experts and to hear public commentary. We invite all members to attend.
Gentleman from the 10th, Douglas Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Energy will meet today at 2 p.m. in the Judiciary Committee room. The agenda is posted. Republican members of the Energy Committee will caucus today at 1:30 in the Chairman's office.
Gentleman from the 41st, Douglas Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Health and Human Resources will meet today in room 215E at 2 p.m. Republican members will caucus in the Chairman's office at 1:30. The agenda is posted.
Gentleman from the 25th, Douglas Painter.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Veteran Affairs and Homeland Security will meet tomorrow at 1 o'clock in House Ed, and the agenda will be posted.
Lady from the 32nd, Douglas Staggers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Democratic members of Health and Human Resources will caucus today at 1:30 in room 230. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 50th, Douglas Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Democratic members of this House will caucus immediately upon adjournment in the House Gov Org Room 215. Democrats immediately upon adjournment.
Gentleman from the 51st, Douglas Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The North Central West Virginia Roads Caucus will meet today at 4 o'clock in room 252.
Are there further announcements? If not, the question for the House
Mr. Speaker.
Is... Yes, Lady from the 49th.
Rules Committee will meet tomorrow at 10:45 behind the chamber. And the second announcement is the last day to introduce bills is February 12th. Members need to have their bills to bill drafting pre-approved by February 8th for introduction.
Are there further announcements? If not, the question before the House is a motion by the lady from the 49th that the House stand adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed will say no. Ayes have it. The motion is adopted. This House is adjourned until 11 a.m. tomorrow. Hey.
Senate will please come to order. The Senate will please come to order. All those not having privileges of the floor will please vacate the chamber. And with those on the floor and our guests in the gallery, please rise as we are led in prayer this morning by Pastor Matt Friend, who's the senior pastor at Bible Center Church in Charleston, West Virginia. And then please remain standing as we are led in the pledge this morning by the senator from Logan, Pastor Friend.
Let us pray. Oh Lord, you are our shepherd, and we want no other. Thank you for shepherding our state since 1863. I pray that you would help us to rest in green pastures. Lead us beside still waters, from Wheeling to Bluefield, from Huntington to Martinsburg. Help our state flourish once again. God, will you provide for our needs? Send us jobs. God, better yet, inspire our good citizens to create jobs. And in the next few years, I pray that you would move us from retreat to prosperity, from pessimism to optimism, from hopelessness to hopefulness. And Father, we know that we all share the same pie, so we ask that you would grow the pie. Restore our souls, lead us in the paths of righteousness for your name's sake. And Father, guard our hearts, guard our tongues. Give us the humility of the manger, the mercy of the cross, and the confidence of the risen King. God, I pray you would bless the men and women who lead our state, the men and women in this room. Anoint them with oil, overflow their cup. And God, we ask for peace and resolution, not for ourselves, but for our children. Make West Virginia a place where my daughters will one day want to come back home. May goodness and mercy follow us all the days of our lives. And we are grateful that West Virginia is almost heaven, but I pray many, many more will find eternal peace of heaven here through the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's in his name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. The senator from Logan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please join me as we honor America. I pledge allegiance
Reading of the journal. You may be seated. Reading of the journal.
West Virginia Legislature Senate Journal, Monday, February 4th, 2019. The Senate met at 11:07 a.m.
Junior Senator from the 17th requests unanimous consent that further reading of the journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Is there objection? Chair hears none. So ordered. Introduction of guests. On behalf of the Senate, it is my pleasure to welcome our honorary pages for the day. Please stand and be recognized as your name is called. As guest of the senior senator from the 9th, we have Alyssa Tilley, Kyla Lockridge, Peyton Phillips. And as guest of the senior senator from the 16th, we have Ella Walters, Emily Montgomery, and Matthew Cole. If they would all please rise in the Senate, make them feel welcome. You may be seated. Further introductions, the junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Senate, it's my pleasure and yours to introduce our doc for the day. In the rear of the chamber, we have Dr. Tom Linger. He's been a long-standing physician here in Charleston, West Virginia. If the Senate would give him a warm welcome.
Further introductions, the senator from Wyoming County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to introduce the parents of the pages today. Peyton Phillips, Carolyn Phillips is her mother. Would you stand, please? And Kayla Lockridge, Allery Lockridge. And Allison Tilley is Kathy and Sean Tilley. Please make them welcome.
The senator from Boone County.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the senator from Logan, we're very pleased to have visiting with us 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders from Ramage Grade School in Boone County. Chaperoning these good people, my cousin Buddy Hudson, Elaine Burns, Randy Hager, Amber He, Shay Hale, Cornelia Bolton, and Marilyn Gerald. If they would all stand in the Senate, give them a big welcome.
Further introductions. The senior senator from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President. The senator from Jefferson and I are very pleased to have with us the parents
of our honorary pages today. If they would please stand when their name's read. From Ella Waters' mother is Sonia Waters. Matthew Cole's father is Nicholas Hamilton. And also we have Emily Montgomery. Her father's here, Mike Montgomery. If they'd stand and receive a warm Senate welcome.
The senator from Harrison County.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of my senior senator from Braxton, it's my pleasure and yours to introduce some of the great kids who have come down here to learn about the legislature and government in the state of West Virginia. They're from the counties of Harrison, Gilmer, and Lewis, and they're here all as part of the Youth Leadership Association seminar that's going on today. They're here with their chaperones. From Harrison County, we have Heidi Griffith, Jason Haynes, Chrisanne Diaz, and Gabe Rhodes. If they'll stand and be welcomed by the senator. You up there? Over there? And we also have chaperones Izetta Brannon and Izetta Brannon from Gilmer County and Alex Fisher from Lewis County. Please stand and let us make you welcome. There they are. Thank you, Mr. President.
The senior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the junior senator from the 17th, today we have with us St. Albans High School teacher Vicki Hensley and her AP government class. I ask them to stand and the Senate make them feel welcome.
Senator from Marshall County.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the senator from Wetzel, I'd like to welcome one of our constituents, Al Clark. Al comes from a family of public service in Moundsville. He comes down each session just to be a part of the political process. And I'd like to welcome Al. Al, would you please stand in the Senate and make him welcome.
The junior senator from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I would like to welcome to the Senate some students from Ravenswood Middle who are with Youth and Government. They're in our rear gallery, and it's Blake Bibby, Brandon Haynes, Jalen Pepper, Hattie Kennedy, Olivia Long, and they're escorted by their teacher, Jason Gump. If you could stand in the rear gallery and the Senate, please make them welcome.
The senator from Wyoming County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to introduce my Fraser Singleton intern for this week. She is Hannah Thompson. She attends WVU, is a political science and theater double major. She's from Martinsburg area. Please make her feel welcome.
The senator from Mercer County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm happy to announce that today is Mercer County Day at the Capitol. We have quite a delegation here from the Mercer County Chamber of Commerce. There are too many to name by name, but they're all friends of mine. And they'll be out throughout the building today handing out information on Mercer County, and they're having lunch in the governor's conference room starting around 12:30 today. Feel free to stop by and have lunch. If they would please stand and the Senate make them welcome.
The senator from Ohio County.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of my colleagues from Marshall, Wetzel, and Brooke County, we have students that I'd like to welcome from Cameron, Sherrard, and Moundsville middle schools who are here at the Capitol today as part of the Youth and Government program. They are with their teachers and their chaperones today, Jeff Stevens, Amy Jones, and Jessica Meyer. If they could all please stand, and could the Senate please give them a warm welcome.
Further introductions? Junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the rear of the gallery, we have some folks from the Alzheimer's Association. They have posters out there, by the way. If you have a chance, stop by and see it. But if they wouldn't mind standing, let the Senate give you a warm welcome.
Further introductions? Further introductions. Communications from the House.
The Clerk of the House announced that the House has amended and passed Senate Bill 27, removing restrictions on where certain traditional lottery games may be played.
Communication be received. Junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate concur in the House amendments to Senate Bill 27.
Junior Senator from the 17th moves that the Senate concur in House amendments to Senate Bill number 27. Is there discussion? The Junior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. The House amendments added clarifying language to cure a conflict in the code with the recently passed sports wagering legislation. The House also amended the title. I urge passage.
Further discussion? Not. All those in favor of the Senator's motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the motion adopted. The question now is, shall the bill pass? Is there further discussion? Not. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Senator from Braxton County. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, there being 27 yeas, 5 nays, 2 absent and not voting, more than the majority of those elected having voted in the affirmative, I declare the bill passed. Clerk will communicate the action of the Senate to the House.
The Clerk of the House announced the passage by that body of committee substitute for House Bill 2607 relating to the licensure of nursing homes.
Message will be received and referred to the Committee on Health and Human Resources.
Committee substitute for House Bill 2612 proposing rules related to the completion or updating of source water protection plans.
Message will be received and referred to the Committee on Government Organization. Are there further communications from the House?
No, sir.
Communications from the Executive?
There are none.
Reports from standing committees?
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration Senate Bill 16, authorizing expenditure of surplus funds by Wyoming County Commission. Committee substitute for Senate Bill 323, establishing revenue fund and source to support Department of Agriculture's improvement to facilities. And Senate Bill 346, changing rate which certain judges are paid for mileage when traveling within state, and reports the same back with the recommendation that they each do pass. Respectfully submitted, Craig Blair, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration Senate Bill 30, eliminating tax on annuity considerations collected by life insurer, and reports back committee substitute for same with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Craig Blair, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Banking and Insurance has had under consideration Senate Bill 74, exempting non-paid volunteers at ski areas from workers' compensation benefits, and reports back committee substitute for same. Senate Bill 340, repealing obsolete provisions of West Virginia Medical Professional Liability Insurance Joint Underwriting Association, and reports back committee substitute for same. Senate Bill 407, relating to abandonment and indication of ownership in property held by financial institution, and reports back committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the 3 committee substitutes do pass, but under the original double committee references, first be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary. Respectfully submitted, Michael T. Azinger, Chair.
Reports will be received, and under the bill's original double committee references will be referred to the Committee on the Judiciary.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration committee substitute for Senate Bill 90, transferring safety and treatment program from DHHR to DMV, and reports back committee substitute for same with the recommendation that the committee substitute for committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Craig Blair, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration Senate Bill 237, improving ability of law enforcement to locate and return missing persons, and reports back to committee substitute for same. And Senate Bill 356, authorizing Division of Corrections and Rehabilitation to release certain information to county prosecutors and U.S. Attorney, and reports back to committee substitute for same. With the recommendation that the 2 committee substitutes do pass, respectfully submitted, Charles S. Trump IV, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration Senate Bill 263, limiting number of days legislators may be compensated during extended and extraordinary sessions if budget bill not enacted, and reports back to committee substitute for same, with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass. Respectfully submitted, Craig Blair, Chair.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Banking and Insurance has had under consideration Senate Bill 453, relating to background checks of certain financial institutions, and reports the same back with the recommendation that it do pass. Respectfully submitted, Michael T. Azinger, Chair.
Report will be received.
That's all I have, sir.
Reports from select committees.
There are none.
Introduction of bills. The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that Senate Bill number 521 through Senate Bill 532 be considered introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system.
Junior senator from the 17th requests unanimous consent that Senate Bill number 521 through Senate Bill number 532 be considered introduced, read by their titles, and referred to the appropriate committees as shown on the chamber automation system. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Resolutions.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 25 by Senators Beach, Jeffries, Stallings, Baldwin, Palumbo, and Swope, naming the U.S. Army Private First Class Andrew Bo Martin Harper Memorial Bridge.
Under the rules of the Senate, the resolution will lie over one day.
Senate Resolution 27 by Senators Takubo, Jeffries, Stallings, Baldwin, Plymel, Rucker, Palumbo, Klein, Maynard, Beach, and Swope, designating February 5th, 2019 as West Virginia Alzheimer's Association Day.
Junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration, committee reference be dispensed with, and the resolution be placed upon its adoption.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. Clerk will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 27, designating February 5th, 2019 as West Virginia Alzheimer's Association Day at the Capitol.
Question before the Senate is adoption of resolution. Is there discussion? The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Alzheimer's is such a devastating disease and such an important topic. Just a few facts. You know, it's something that continues to increase. Over 50% of those over age 85 unfortunately come down with some form of dementia. It especially hits women. They currently are affected at a rate of 2 to 3 compared to their male counterparts. But it doesn't have to occur just at an older age. 5% of Alzheimer's is actually diagnosed by the age of 30. It remains the 6th leading cause of death, and as one can imagine, the risk of depression, emotional stress, not only for the patients but for the caregivers, is tremendous. With that being said, 15% don't have any caregivers. They live alone still. Between 2000 and 2015, the death from heart disease has decreased significantly by about 11%, while at the same time, that of Alzheimer's continues to climb and had an increase over that time period of 123%. It's important that we have awareness of this disease and that we certainly have awareness for those that are caring for those with the disease, and for those reasons I urge adoption.
Further discussion, the senator from Boone County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too rise in support of the resolution. Last year, the Alzheimer's Association estimated that there are more than 38,000 West Virginians over the age of 65 with Alzheimer's disease. Personally, I think that's a very low number. I think there's significantly more. At the same time, the association estimated that more than 5 million Americans were living with Alzheimer's, with that number expected to increase to 16 million by 2050. In fact, statistics show that 1 out of 2 seniors age 85 are living with Alzheimer's. So if you make it to 85, you got a 50% chance of having Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's disease affects the entire family. It is estimated that there are more than 100,000 unpaid caregivers who care for their loved one in our state. Mr. President, I want those thousands of West Virginian families to know that there is help and there is hope. I encourage them to visit the Alzheimer's Association website, alz.org, to learn about the signs, symptoms, and progression of the disease, or call the 1-800 number, where trained counselors are available 24/7 to help with any question about Alzheimer's. The West Virginia Bureau of Senior Services Alzheimer's program has resources including the Family Alzheimer's In-Home Respite or FARE program. I have several patients receiving help from this program, and the Lighthouse programs. Folks can learn more about these programs by contacting their county senior center. The Bureau is also working with 16 communities across the state who receive federal funds to improve service to their communities. Also, AARP has great resources for caregivers at aarp.org/caregiving. Next, an amazing example of research and efforts underway at our universities offer us hope. For example, Dr. Shirley Neach, a board-certified geriatrician, leads the Hanshaw Geriatric Center at Marshall University, where she leads a multidisciplinary team in best practices to care for West Virginians. In addition, she leads research projects, including an effort called the Dementia Cafe in Huntington. This downtown Huntington Cafe is the first of its kind in the state to offer a welcoming environment for individuals living with Alzheimer's disease and their caregivers. Dr. Nietzsche also teaches thousands of physicians like myself and other healthcare professionals on how to diagnose and better treat plans for individuals living with Alzheimer's. At West Virginia University's Rockefeller Neurosciences Institute, Dr. Ali Rezai is leading a team who performed the first procedure in the world of a phase 2 trial focused on ultrasound to treat a patient with early stage Alzheimer's. The trial will evaluate the potential benefits of using focused ultrasound treatment to disrupt the blood-brain barrier in the regions of the brain affected by Alzheimer's, such as the hippocampus. I attended a World Dementia Conference in Switzerland this past year, and there's so much effort internationally because we know this is going to be a very big problem, certainly financially. So there's a shift to the left, if we can, to try to get this at an earlier stage and prevent it if at all possible. Until we find that cure, families need help now. I know there are numerous efforts underway to help West Virginia, the first dementia-friendly state, including West Virginia Cares, about families living with dementia. More resources are available at wvcares.org. What I mean by dementia-friendly is that our citizens are informed about Alzheimer's disease and other dementias, and that they are helpful to families living with dementia. An example of that is the Boone County Sheriff's Department has participated in a 4-hour training program by West Virginia Cares. Soon all members of the department will have received that training. They will become the first sheriff's department in the state where all members of the department have gone through this training, and I'm proud Chief Deputy Chad Barker and the entire department. As a physician, I'm frequently asked, how can I prevent Alzheimer's disease? I can tell you that while there's currently no cure, studies indicate that actions we take to improve cardiovascular or heart health are also good for brain health, such as maintaining a healthy blood pressure, getting regular physical activity, and making healthy food choices. When there are disasters such as floods in our state, we see neighbor helping neighbor. I would encourage all of us to think about how we can be supportive of families living with Alzheimer's disease. Offer to pick up items at a grocery store, deliver a meal, and ask how you can be of the most help. Let's do what we do well in West Virginia. Let's offer help and hope to our neighbors. I urge adoption.
Other members desiring to speak to the resolution? If not, all those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the resolution adopted. Junior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand in brief recess for the purpose of presenting the resolution.
Junior Senator from the 17th moves that the Senate stand in brief recess for the purpose of presenting this resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the Senate in brief recess to present this resolution. Senate will please come to order. The Senate will please come to order. Are there further resolutions?
Yes, sir. Senate Resolution 28 by Senators Prezioso, Jeffries, Stallings, Baldwin, Plymel, Palumbo, Hardesty, Beach, Swope, and Hamilton, commemorating the life and career of Coach Joe Retton.
The senator from Marion County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration, committee reference be dispensed with, and the resolution be put upon its adoption.
The senator from Marion County requests unanimous consent that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration, committee reference be dispensed with, and that the resolution be placed upon its adoption. Is there objection? Chair hears none. Clerk will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 28, commemorating the life and career of Coach Joe Retton, husband, father, coach, veteran, and dedicated public servant.
Question before the Senate is adoption of the resolution. Is there discussion? The senator from Marion County.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my distinct honor and privilege today to be part of presenting this resolution to probably one of the greatest coaches in West Virginia and probably America. This past October, the state of West Virginia, and in particular Fairmont, West Virginia, lost a legend. Iconic former Fairmont State University men's basketball coach Joe Retton passed away at the age of 87. Joe Retton served as professor at Fairmont State until the late 1980s. He was the head men's basketball coach from 1963 to 1982. During his 19 seasons with the Falcons, Coach Retton's teams compiled an impressive 478 wins and only 95 losses. He claimed 12 West Virginia Intercollegiate Athletic Conference titles, won 8 WVIAC tournament champions, and made 12 appearances in the NAIA National Tournament, making it to the semifinals 4 times and finishing as a national runners-up in 1968. Joe Retton's 836 winning percentage was the highest of any men's basketball coach at any level as he retired from coaching in 1982. During his time at Fairmont State University, Coach Retton was twice named the NAIA National Coach of the Year in 1969 and 1976. He was also honored as the Association Press Small College Coach of the Year in 1976 and was a 6-time Coach of the Year selection in both the WVIAC and NAIA District 28. Coach Retton's team produced 9 of Fairmont State's 12 basketball All-American selection. In 1987, he was inducted into the NAIA Hall of Fame, and the following year was selected to the West Virginia Sports Writers Hall of Fame. He was also a member of the Fairmont State's inaugural Athletics Hall of Fame in 1993. A coal miner's son and a native of Granttown in Marion County, Retton was a 3-sport standout at Fairview High School who continued his education and athletic career at Fairmont State, where he was an accomplished baseball player. After serving in Korea as a member of the United States Army, Coach Retton got his teaching and coaching start at Berrickville High School in Marion County, where he compiled 147 wins, 19 losses record in 7 seasons, and won the state age state championship in 1961. It has been said that every great coach is a great woman, and Joe Retton would wholeheartedly agree with that. He adored his wife of 54 years, Nancy Retton, who preceded him in death. Nancy played a significant role in Joe Retton's life's successes and was considered by many of his players to be their second mom. Retton was also dedicated to his son, John and David, and his daughter-in-law, Angie, as well as his grandchildren, Maggie, Lucas, and Trent. The excellence Joe Renton demonstrated both on and off the field continues to permeate in the halls of Fairmont State University. The school's successful and rich basketball tradition began under Coach Renton, who will be forever remembered for the work he did for the school and for the relationships he formed there with his players, the Falcon fans, and members of the Fairmont community. Today, as a testament to his accomplishments and legacy, Fairmont State University's basketball facility bears his name, the Joe Renton Arena at the Feaster Center. It's a fitting tribute to a man who loved, gave so much, and will be forever a part of American athletic history at Fairmont State University in the state of West Virginia. Accompanying from Fairmont today is his son, David Renton, who is the head football coach at Fairmont Senior High School. We also have President Mirta Martin, the president of Fairmont State University, Dr. Bud Sapp, who is a professor at Fairmont State University and a player for Coach Renton. We also have Coach Lambiot, who was, and then we also have Coach Dave Cooper, and both Joe and Dave were a part of that team for the national runners-up in '68. We have Mike Arcure, who was the assistant coach under Coach Renton. We also have Elisa Welling. We have Chad Fowler, who's the athletic director, Tim McDeely, the vice president of student affairs, and George Levinsky. We also had a former player in this body, was a Senator Dave Miller, who sends his regard. He couldn't be with us today. Mr. President, it is certainly a sincere pleasure for me to be a small part of this resolution, and I urge the adoption of it.
Other members desiring, I recognize the senior senator from the 5th.
Requesting unanimous consent that the remarks by the Senator from Marion as it relates to Senate Resolution 28 be printed in the appendix of the journal.
Without objection, so ordered. Senator from Montague. Are there other members desiring to speak to the resolution? Not. The question before the Senate is adoption of the resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the resolution adopted. Junior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand in brief recess for the purpose of presenting the resolution.
Junior Senator from the 17th moves that the Senate stand in brief recess for the purpose of presenting this resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the Senate in brief recess to present this resolution. Senate will please come to order. The Senate will please come to order. Further resolutions?
Yes, sir. Senate Resolution 29 by Senators Prezioso, Jeffries, Stallings, Baldwin, Primel, Beach, Swope, and Hamilton, congratulating Doug Newsom for winning the Earl S. Dillard Insurance Agent of the Year Award.
Senator from Marion County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration, the committee reference be dispensed with, and the resolution be put upon its adoption.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. Clerk will please read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 29, congratulating Doug Newsom for winning the Earl S. Dillard Insurance Agent of the Year Award.
Question before the Senate is adoption of the resolution. Is there discussion? The senator from Marion County.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a pleasure again for me today to present my friend and longtime Marion County, Doug Newsom, with the Earl S. Dillard Insurance Agent Award of the Year. The award is presented annually by the Independent Insurance Agents of West Virginia and to those associate member agents who, throughout their career, have personified the qualities most admired by the profession. Doug Newsom attended and graduated from West Virginia University, where he met and married his wife, Donna. He's the father of 4 sons. He is part of the Hood Agency in Fairmont, West Virginia. And in 1982, Doug was recognized with the Outstanding Young Man of America Award in recognition of his outstanding professional achievement, superior leadership ability, and exceptional service to his community. In 1989, he received his first designation of the Life Underwriter Training Council Fellow, and in 1982 completed his second designation of Accredited Advisor in Insurance. I've known Doug for a long time, and last night we had a chance to get together, and Doug told me the story about one of the first times that he came to Charleston. He was a new member on the insurance board, and he said that they were having a reception, and during the reception there were a lot of people, and as he stood there, he said that he backed into a candle and it caught his coat on fire in the back, and he didn't know it. So as the coat smoltered and started to catch fire, 3 little ladies looked over and said, "Is that man on fire?" And the maitre d', I guess, had a big silver plate, and he went over and was trying to put the fire out, and as he was whiffing the fire, it was increasing in flame. And Doug said, "You know, that was the first time I came to Charleston and felt the heat. And every time I come down here, I feel the heat of the West Virginia State Senate." So we're lucky to have Doug here with us today. And let me tell you a little bit more about Doug. He served as the president and professional of the Professional Independent Insurance Agents of West Virginia. His community service includes work with the Boy Scouts of America, Marion County Chamber of Commerce, Marion County United Way, and I've had the pleasure to serve with Doug as a member of the Fairmont Kiwanis Club, where he served as the past president. Upon Doug's retirement in December of 2017, his son Chad took over the leadership of the agency, which is now the Hood Insurance Group, LLC. Doug has demonstrated his excellence in the insurance industry and in his community. For his efforts, he was presented the Earl S. Dillard Agent of the Year Award. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Doug Newsom. He's accompanied by his son, Chad, and I urge, Mr. President, the adoption of this resolution.
Further discussion? If not, question before the Senate is adoption of the resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the resolution adopted. Junior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate stand in brief recess for the purpose of presenting the resolution.
Junior Senator from the 17th moves that the Senate stand in brief recess for the purpose of presenting this resolution. All those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the Senate in brief recess to present this resolution. Senate will please come to order. Senate will please come to order. Further resolutions?
No, sir.
Motions? Petitions?
There are none.
Unfinished business.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 22, urging Congress call convention for purpose of proposing amendment restoring free and fair elections.
Resolution will be referred to Committee on the Judiciary.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 24, naming the Hazel Dickens Memorial Bridge.
Resolution will be referred to Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. Bills on third reading.
There are none.
Bills on second reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 154, using school facilities for funeral and memorial services for certain community members. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
Not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 157, authorizing Department of Administration promulgate legislative rules. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
Not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 175, authorizing DHHR promulgate legislative rules. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
Not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Senate Bill 267, requiring State Board of Education adopt policy detailing level of computer science instruction. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
Not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Senate Bill 343, relating to review and approval of state property leases.
Junior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that the bill lie over one day while retaining its place on the calendar.
Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 387, relating generally to extradition. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
Not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 392, relating to payment of invoices received by Division of Corrections and Rehabilitation for contract work. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
Not, the bill will be engrossed and advanced to third reading.
Engrossed House Bill 2462, issuing a certificate to correctional employees to carry firearms. Second reading of the bill.
Are there amendments to the bill?
Yes, sir. The Committee on the Judiciary moved to amend the bill by
The
striking
Senator
out
from Morgan
everything.
County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read.
Is there objection? Chair hears none. Senator may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. The amendment to the House bill, the committee amendment, is a strike and insert amendment for the bill. This bill amends a single section of state code. It's in Article 3 of Chapter 15A, and it's Section 10 relating to law enforcement powers of employees. The purpose of the bill and the strike and insert amendment is to clarify when and that the Commissioner may issue a certificate for correctional employees to be able to use and handle firearms where, and then there are criteria. The correctional employee has to successfully complete the training course, same program for firearms certification that applies to deputy sheriffs. The employee has to complete an annual firearms course, same as law enforcement, certified law enforcement officers have to do. The correctional officer has to have a certificate for a firearms course prescribed by the Commissioner, and then the Commissioner may authorize the correctional employee to carry division-issued firearms in the performance of duties, including travel to and from work. The strike and insert amendment also makes some minor technical changes to the language of the bill. Be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I urge the adoption of the committee's recommended strike and insert amendment.
Is there further discussion? Further discussion? Not. Question before the Senate is adoption of the Judiciary Committee amendment. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the amendment adopted. Are there further amendments to the bill?
No, sir.
Bill be advanced. Further bills on second reading?
No, sir.
Bills on first reading?
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 127, relating to parole officers' duties to perform alcohol and drug testing of litigants. First reading of the bill.
Bill be advanced.
Committee substitute for Senate Bill 163, authorizing DEP promulgate legislative rules. First reading of the bill.
Bill be advanced. Further bills on first reading?
No, sir.
Introduction of guests. The senior senator from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the senators from the 9th, 10th and 11th districts. In the North Gallery, we have active Southern West Virginia board members. And please rise as I call your name. Aaron Reed, Melanie Seiler, and India Krozik. Active Southern West Virginia provides free recreation and health programs in Nicholas, Fayette, Raleigh, and Summers counties. They are improving the health of our residents and workforce, which will attract and retain jobs to Southern West Virginia. Senate, please join me and make them welcome.
Further introductions? The senior senator from the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Senator from Mercer and the senior senator from the 6th and the senator from Cabell, we have someone in the gallery up to my left that is a Williamson High School graduate, WVU graduate, and a Marshall Medical School graduate, and he's also a Paul Ambrose Fellow that helps with policy in the state of West Virginia, Dr. Louis Olive.
Further introductions. Remarks by members of the Senate. Miscellaneous business. The junior senator from the senior senator from the 8th under remarks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask on Senate Resolution 27, I ask unanimous consent that the remarks of the senator from senior senator from Boone, junior senator from Kanawha, those remarks be placed in the appendix of the journal.
Without objection, so ordered.
Also, Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent on Senate Resolution 29 that the senator from Marion, that his remarks be placed in the appendix of the journal also.
Without objection, so ordered. Further remarks? Miscellaneous business. Junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pending announcements, I move the Senate stand adjourned until tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Are there announcements? Senior senator from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Finance will meet today at 3 p.m., room 451M, and the agenda has been posted.
The senator from Jefferson County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Education will meet at 2 o'clock in 451M. The agenda has been posted.
Senator from Morgan County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on the Judiciary will meet today at 3 o'clock p.m. in the Judiciary Committee room in the West Wing.
Senator from Marshall County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Health will meet today at 1 p.m. in 451M.
Senator from Preston County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Agriculture will meet tomorrow at 2 p.m., 208 West.
Further announcements. The senator from Mercer County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Government Organization will meet today at 2 o'clock, 208 West. The agenda has been posted.
Further announcements. The senator from Tucker County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee on Energy will not meet today. Thank you.
Further announcements. The junior senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent that a leave of absence be granted to the senator from Monroe.
Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. Senator from Upshur seek recognition. Question before the Senate is shall the question before the Senate is shall the Senate stand adjourned until tomorrow at 11 a.m. All those in favor will say aye. Those opposed no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. I declare the Senate adjourned until tomorrow at 11 a.m.